I stared at the text message from my mother, my hands trembling slightly as I read the words that felt like a punch to the gut. Christmas dinner will be for family only this year. Madison needs peace with the new baby coming. Hope you understand. 28 years of being the disappointment, the black sheep, the one who never quite measured up to my perfect sister Madison. But this Christmas exclusion would become the catalyst for the most unexpected plot twist of my life. Little did they know that calling me a loser and shutting me out would be the best thing that ever happened to me. Before I tell you how this family drama unfolded, let me know where you are watching from and hit that like button if you have ever felt like the black sheep of your family. Trust me, you will want to subscribe because this story has a twist that nobody saw coming. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up in suburban Columbus, Ohio, I always knew I was different from the rest of my family. My father, Robert, worked as an accountant for a mid-sized firm, methodical and conservative in every aspect of his life. My mother, Linda, taught third grade at the local elementary school, believing firmly in tradition structure and following the expected path. Then there was Madison, my older sister by 3 years, who embodied everything my parents dreamed their children would become. Madison had been the valedictorian of her high school class, earned a full ride to Ohio State for her undergraduate degree, then went on to Harvard for her MBA. She married William, a successful corporate lawyer, in a wedding that cost my parents $40,000. They lived in a pristine colonial house with a white picket fence, 2 perfectly behaved children, and another baby on the way. Madison represented the American dream personified. I, on the other hand, had chosen art school. While Madison was climbing the corporate ladder, I was pursuing my passion for graphic design at a state university, funding my education through student loans and part-time jobs. I lived in a small 1-bedroom apartment downtown, worked as a freelance graphic designer, and at 28, I was still single. To my parents, I was a constant reminder of wasted potential. The pattern of favoritism had been established since childhood. Madison's birthday parties were elaborate affairs with themed decorations, catered food, and extended family gatherings. Mine were quiet dinners at home with a grocery store cake. When Madison graduated from college, my parents threw her a celebration party and gifted her a new car. When I graduated from art school, I received a card with $50 inside and a lecture about finding a real job. The financial support told the complete story. Madison's Harvard tuition was paid in full by our parents, who dipped into their retirement savings to ensure she graduated debt-free. Meanwhile, I had taken out student loans that I was still paying off 5 years later. When Madison wanted to buy her house, my parents provided the down payment as a wedding gift. When I needed help with a security deposit for my apartment, I was told to figure it out and learn responsibility. Career-wise, the disparity was even more obvious. Madison's promotions at her consulting firm were celebrated with family dinners and proud social media posts. My freelance work was dismissed as playing around and not a real career. When I landed a particularly challenging project with a local business designing their entire brand identity for $8,000, my mother's response was lukewarm at best. "That's nice, dear, but when are you going to find something stable?" The romantic relationships in our lives received vastly different treatment as well. Madison's relationship with William was praised from day one. He was perfect husband material, successful, and exactly what every mother wants for her daughter. My relationships, on the other hand, were subjected to intense scrutiny and inevitable criticism. Every boyfriend was either not ambitious enough, not good for you, or simply another loser you have brought home. But it was this past Thanksgiving that everything finally came to a head. The dinner table conversation had started pleasantly enough with Madison announcing her 3rd pregnancy to excited congratulations from everyone present. The attention and celebration continued for nearly 20 minutes, with discussions about baby names, nursery themes, and how wonderful it would be to have another grandchild. When the excitement finally died down, I decided to share my own good news. I had just secured a contract with a growing tech startup to design their entire user interface, a project worth $20,000, and my biggest client to date. I waited for an appropriate pause in the conversation and announced my accomplishment with genuine excitement. The response was devastating in its indifference. My mother barely looked up from her plate as she said, "That's nice, dear, but when are you going to get a real job and settle down like your sister?" My father nodded in agreement, adding, "Madison builds futures, you just doodle." Madison, perhaps sensing my hurt, offered what she thought was sympathy, but felt more like condescension. "Maybe next year you will have something meaningful to share with us," she said, reaching across the table to pat my hand in a gesture that felt more patronizing than comforting. I tried to defend myself, explaining that graphic design was a legitimate career, that I was building a client base and earning a living doing what I loved. But my words were met with dismissive looks and barely concealed eye rolls. The conversation quickly escalated when I pointed out the obvious favoritism in how our achievements were received. "You have always been ungrateful," my mother snapped. "We have supported you through your phases, and this is how you repay us, by causing drama at family dinner." My father's words cut even deeper. "Madison has never been a disappointment to us. She followed the right path, made good choices. You seem determined to make everything difficult." The dinner ended with me leaving early, my heart broken, and my sense of family shattered. I drove home in tears, wondering how the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally could be so cruel and dismissive of my accomplishments. 2 weeks later, the text message arrived that would change everything. I was sitting in my apartment on a Tuesday evening working on a logo design for a local restaurant when my phone buzzed with a message from my mother. The words on the screen made my stomach drop. "Christmas dinner will be intimate this year. Madison needs peace with the new baby coming. Hope you understand." I read the message 3 times, trying to process what was happening. Intimate, I was their daughter. How much more intimate could family get? I immediately called my mother, hoping there had been some misunderstanding. "Hi, Mom, I just got your text about Christmas. What do you mean by intimate?" Her voice was cold and matter-of-fact. "Just what I said, Paige. Madison is pregnant and stressed. We cannot have any drama this year. It is better if you make other plans." Drama. What drama? I am your daughter. This is our family Christmas tradition. You always cause problems, Paige. You get upset, you argue, you make everything about you. Madison needs a peaceful environment right now. The conversation continued for another 10 minutes, with me trying to understand how I had become the family scapegoat, and my mother remaining firm in her decision. When I hung up, I felt completely hollow. But the worst was yet to come. Over the next few days, I discovered the true scope of my exclusion. Extended family members began calling me confused about why I was not included in the planning group chat for Christmas dinner. Aunt Sarah called first, asking what dish I was bringing. When I explained I had not been invited, the uncomfortable silence spoke volumes. "But honey, everyone else is coming. Your cousin's Uncle Mark, even your great-aunt Helen is flying in from Phoenix. How can they not invite you?" The answer became clear as I watched Madison's social media activity. Her Instagram was filled with Christmas preparation posts. Photos of her and our mother baking cookies together, shopping for decorations, planning the menu. The captions were strategically worded. "Excited for family Christmas, mom's traditional recipes, and quality time with loved ones." Not a single photo included me or even referenced my existence. When concerned cousins asked in the comments where I was, Madison's responses were masterfully passive-aggressive. "Some people choose different paths in life," she would write. Or, "We are keeping it simple this year, just focusing on what really matters." I was being systematically erased from the family narrative, and Madison was orchestrating it with surgical precision. Desperate to salvage some relationship with my family, I decided to call Madison directly. Perhaps if I appealed to her as my sister, we could work through whatever issues they thought existed. "Madison, it is Paige. Can we talk about Christmas?" Her voice was instantly cold. "What about it? I do not understand why I'm being excluded. What have I done wrong?" "Mom is right, Paige. You do make everything about you. This Christmas is important for my family's traditions. We cannot have negative energy around the baby." I tried to explain my feelings, to share how hurt and confused I was, but Madison cut me off. "You are being dramatic as usual. Maybe if you had made better life choices, you would understand what family really means." The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes before she hung up on me. My final attempt at reconciliation came in the form of a carefully written letter to my parents. I poured my heart onto paper, explaining how their treatment made me feel, acknowledging that I might have made mistakes, and expressing my genuine desire to be part of the family. I delivered it personally to their mailbox, hoping the written word might reach them where spoken conversations had failed. Their response came via text message 2 days later. "We have made our decision. Please respect it." Christmas Eve arrived with a special kind of torture. As I sat alone in my apartment scrolling through social media, became an exercise in masochism. The photos started appearing around noon, extended family arriving at my parents' house, everyone bundling together for group shots on the front porch. The dining room table set for 15 people, with Madison's children opening presents surrounded by aunts, uncles, and cousins. The final blow came with the formal family photo. Three generations gathered in my parents' living room, everyone dressed in coordinating red and green outfits, smiling broadly at the camera. The caption read, "Grateful for our beautiful, complete family." Complete family. The words stung worse than any insult they had ever hurled at me. Family friends who had known me since childhood began commenting on the photo. Such a perfect family. Where is Paige? The questions were innocent enough, but Madison's response revealed her true character. Some people choose different paths in life. She wrote the same dismissive phrase she had been using for weeks. That night, I cried harder than I had since childhood. The feeling of abandonment was complete and overwhelming. 28 years of trying to earn their love, of hoping that someday I would be enough, came crashing down in a single evening. I was not just excluded from Christmas dinner, I had been exiled from the family entirely. Christmas morning dawned gray and quiet in my small apartment. I woke up on my couch still wearing the clothes from the night before, my eyes swollen from crying. For the first time in my life, I had nowhere to go on Christmas Day. No family obligations, no forced smiles, no walking on eggshells to avoid setting off another lecture about my life choices. And in that moment of complete solitude, something shifted inside me. The pain was still there, sharp and overwhelming, but underneath it, I felt something I'd never experienced before. Freedom. I made a decision that morning that would change the trajectory of my entire life. I was done. Done begging for scraps of their love. Done apologizing for pursuing my dreams. Done trying to fit into their narrow definition of success. If they wanted to cut me out of their lives, I would make it easy for them. I spent Christmas Day deleting them from my social media accounts, blocking their phone numbers, and removing every photo of them from my apartment. It was not done in anger, though anger was certainly part of it. It was done with the cold clarity of someone who had finally accepted reality. From that day forward, I channeled every ounce of pain, rejection, and hurt into my work. If being a graphic designer made me a failure in their eyes, then I would become the most successful failure they had ever seen. January brought my first major breakthrough. The tech startup I'd been working with was so pleased with my interface design that they referred me to 3 other companies. By February, I had more work than I could handle as a solo freelancer. The word was spreading in the startup community about my innovative approach to user experience design. In March, I was approached by a prestigious design firm downtown. They had seen my work and wanted to discuss a partnership opportunity. What started as a consultation turned into an offer to join their team as a creative director with a salary that was double what Madison made at her consulting firm. By summer, my career had taken off in ways I never imagined possible. A major design magazine featured me in their 30 Under 30 Rising Stars issue, highlighting my work with tech companies and my innovative approach to digital design. The article included a photo of me in my new downtown office, looking confident and professional. I moved out of my small apartment into a stylish loft in the Arts District. The space was everything my cramped old apartment was not. Open, bright, filled with my own artwork and designs. For the first time in my life, my living space reflected who I actually was, not who I thought I should be to please others. The personal growth paralleled my professional success. I started seeing a therapist to work through the family trauma, learning to recognize the patterns of emotional manipulation and neglect that had defined my childhood. Through therapy, I began to understand that my parents' treatment of me said nothing about my worth as a person and everything about their own limitations. My social circle expanded dramatically as well. Through professional networking events and industry conferences, I met people who valued creativity, innovation, and authentic self-expression. These were individuals who understood that success came in many forms, not just the traditional corporate ladder that my family worshipped. I started dating Jake, a fellow entrepreneur who had founded a successful app development company. What struck me most about Jake was how he celebrated my achievements without reservation. When I told him about landing a major client or completing a challenging project, his response was genuine excitement and pride in my accomplishments. The contrast with my family's reactions was stark and healing. Together, we built a chosen family of friends who supported each other's dreams and celebrated each other's victories. Dinner parties in my loft became regular occurrences filled with laughter, creative discussions, and the kind of acceptance I had never experienced growing up. By fall, I had launched my own design consultancy, bringing in triple the income I had made as a freelancer. My client list included major tech companies, established corporations looking to modernize their brands, and innovative startups seeking to make their mark. The business was thriving beyond my wildest expectations. 18 months after that devastating Christmas exclusion, I was living a life I had never imagined possible. My work was fulfilling, my relationships were healthy, and for the first time, I genuinely liked the person I saw in the mirror. I had built success on my own terms, without compromising my values or begging for approval from people who would never give it. Then came the phone call that would test everything I had learned about boundaries and self-worth. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late spring when my phone rang with a number I had blocked over a year ago. Madison's name appeared on my screen, and for a moment I considered letting it go to voicemail. But curiosity got the better of me. I answered on the fourth ring. "Hello, Madison." The voice on the other end was barely recognizable. Gone was the confident, condescending tone I remembered. Instead, Madison sounded broken, desperate, and exhausted. "Paige, thank God you answered. I need to talk to you. I need your help." For the next 30 minutes, Madison poured out a story of spectacular failure. Her perfect marriage had imploded when William was caught having an affair with his legal assistant. The divorce proceedings were ugly and expensive, with William fighting her on every asset and custody arrangement. Her consulting firm had laid her off during a downsizing, leaving her without income while facing mounting legal bills. The house with the white picket fence was in foreclosure. Her savings were depleted from lawyer fees and supporting 3 children as a suddenly single mother. She had moved back in with our parents temporarily, but their retirement savings were being drained trying to help her stay afloat. "I am losing everything, Paige. The house, my career, my financial security. I have 3 kids to think about, and I do not know what I'm going to do." There was a long pause before she got to the real reason for her call. "I know we have not talked in almost 2 years, and I know things ended badly. But you are my sister, and I am desperate. I need to borrow $50,000 to save the house and get back on my feet." The irony was not lost on me. The golden child, the one who had always done everything right, was now asking the family disappointment for financial rescue. "Paige, I had no idea you were doing so well until Mom mentioned seeing that magazine article about you. Maybe we misjudged your career choice. Maybe we did not understand what you were building." Her words might have felt like vindication once upon a time, but now they just sounded hollow. Recognition of my success only came when she needed something from me. The next day brought an even more uncomfortable conversation. Both of my parents called together, their voices awkward and strained as they attempted what could generously be called an apology. "We may have been too harsh on you in the past," my mother began carefully. "Madison told us about your success, and we are proud of what you have accomplished." My father chimed in with his own version of contrition. "Perhaps we did not understand your industry or appreciate your talents the way we should have." But within minutes, their true purpose became clear. This was not about repairing our relationship or acknowledging years of emotional damage. This was about pressuring me to bail out Madison. "She is family, Paige. She has children to think about. You have the means now, and it is the right thing to do." My mother's voice took on the familiar, manipulative tone I remembered from childhood. "We know you have a good heart. You would not want to see your nephews lose their home." The conversation lasted an hour, with both parents taking turns appealing to guilt, family obligation, and moral responsibility. They painted Madison as a victim of circumstances beyond her control, and positioned me as the only person who could save the day. What struck me most was their complete inability to acknowledge the years of damage they had caused. There was no recognition of the Christmas exclusion, no apology for calling me a disappointment, no acknowledgement of the favoritism that had defined my entire childhood. They were only interested in reconciliation because I had something they needed. When I finally hung up, I felt incredibly sad. Not for Madison's situation, which was largely the result of her own choices and attitudes, but for the family I had always wanted but would never have. These people were capable of love, but only conditionally, only when it served their purposes. I took several days to consider my response. I consulted with Jake, talked it through with my therapist, and really examined my motivations and boundaries. The decision I ultimately made surprised everyone, including myself. I called Madison back and arranged to meet her for coffee at a neutral location. She arrived looking haggard and desperate, clearly hoping I would hand her a check and solve all her problems. "I appreciate you reaching out," I began carefully. "And I'm sorry you are going through such a difficult time." Her face lit up with premature relief. "However, I will not be providing financial assistance in the way you have requested." The relief turned quickly to confusion, then anger. "But you have the money. You could help me save my house." Having money and choosing to give it away are 2 different things, Madison. I have learned that helping someone often means not doing what they ask for. Instead of a loan, I offered to connect her with a financial advisor who specialized in debt restructuring and a career counselor who could help her navigate job searching as a single mother. I provided her with resources for legal aid and emotional support groups for women going through divorce. I hope you can rebuild your life, Madison, but not at the expense of my own financial security and emotional well-being. She was furious, accusing me of being selfish and vindictive. I cannot believe you would let your own sister lose her house out of spite. This is not about spite. This is about boundaries. The same boundaries you helped establish when you excluded me from Christmas and called me a disappointment. My parents were equally disappointed when Madison reported back on our conversation. They called to express their displeasure, but I held firm in my decision. I had spent too many years seeking their approval to sacrifice my own well-being for it now. Madison eventually found a job with a smaller consulting firm, took a significant pay cut, and moved into a modest rental house with her children. She managed to negotiate a payment plan with her creditors and slowly began rebuilding her financial life. It was not the dramatic rescue she had hoped for, but it was sustainable progress built on her own efforts. Our family maintains occasional contact now, but the relationship has fundamentally changed. I no longer seek their approval or validation. Holiday gatherings are optional, and I attend only when it serves my own emotional well-being. I have learned to love them from a distance while protecting myself from their toxicity. The chosen family I built with Jake and our friends provides the support, acceptance, and celebration that I never found in my biological family. We create our own traditions, mark our own milestones, and show up for each other consistently and unconditionally. Looking back on that devastating Christmas exclusion, I can honestly say it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Being forced out of their dysfunctional dynamic allowed me to discover who I really was and what I was capable of achieving. Sometimes the greatest gift is being rejected by people who were never capable of truly loving you anyway. I learned that family is not just about blood relations. Real family celebrates your successes, supports your dreams, and loves you for who you are, not who they think you should become. I found that family, and I built a life that reflects my values and brings me genuine happiness. Have you ever been made to feel like the black sheep in your own family? How did you handle being excluded or dismissed by people who were supposed to love you unconditionally? Share your experiences in the comments below, because I know many of you have similar stories. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about overcoming family drama and building the life you deserve. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear that their worth is not determined by other people's opinions, even when those people are family. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the most painful rejections lead to the most beautiful new beginnings. Until next time, keep believing in yourself and never stop pursuing the life that makes you genuinely happy.